The massive alien ship appeared over New York without warning. Its dark metal hull blocked out the sun, casting an ominous shadow over the city that never sleeps. In the United Nations building, Commander James Walker of the Earth Defense Force stood straight, his weathered face showing no fear as he watched the live feed of the vessel. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," reported his communications officer, Lisa. Walker nodded, his gray eyes fixed on the screen. "Put them through." The image that appeared made several junior officers step back. The alien commander, who called himself Supreme Commander Dax, towered over his subordinates. His scaled skin reflected the light of his ship's bridge, and 4 yellow eyes blinked at the humans. "People of Earth," Dax's translator conveyed his words in a metallic voice. "I represent the Galactic Coalition, the ruling force of 500 star systems. Your planet has been chosen to join our magnificent empire." Walker stepped forward. "We appreciate your offer, Commander Dax, but Earth is a sovereign world. We would be happy to discuss peaceful diplomatic relations." "You misunderstand," Dax interrupted, mandibles clicking in what seemed like amusement. "This is not an offer. This is a notification. Your species is primitive. You have barely reached your moon. You have no place among the stars except as our subjects." The room fell silent. Walker felt the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. "With respect, Commander, we must decline. Earth and its people are free. We will not submit to foreign rule." Dax's upper eyes narrowed. "Interesting. Your species shows more backbone than most. However, you have no concept of our power. We have conquered races far more advanced than yours." As if to demonstrate his point, smaller ships emerged from the mothership. They positioned themselves over major cities worldwide. The message was clear: submit or face destruction. Walker didn't flinch. 25 years in the military had taught him that showing weakness to a bully only invited more aggression. "Commander Dax, I urge you to reconsider. Humanity may surprise you." "Surprise us?" Dax laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Your weapons are primitive. Your ships can barely leave your atmosphere. What could possibly surprise us?" Walker's voice remained steady. "Throughout our history, humans have faced overwhelming odds. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and countless wars. Each time we emerged stronger. We don't want war, but if you force our hand, you'll learn why Earth has never been successfully conquered." "Bold words from a primitive species," Dax replied. "You have 24 hours to surrender your world's resources and accept coalition rule. After that, we will take what we want by force." The transmission cut off. Walker immediately turned to his staff. "Get me the Security Council. Now." The next 24 hours were a blur of activity. While politicians argued about surrender, military bases worldwide went on high alert. Walker coordinated with other defense forces, preparing for what would be humanity's first interstellar war. In his private moments, Walker studied the coalition ships through high-powered telescopes. They were impressive, yes, but they had a fatal flaw: arrogance. They positioned themselves in predictable patterns, confident in their technological superiority. "Sir," Lisa interrupted his thoughts just as the 24-hour deadline approached. "Message from Commander Dax." The alien appeared on screen again. "Your time is up." "What is your answer?" Walker stepped forward one last time. "Humanity's answer is this: we will not surrender. We will not submit. If you want Earth, you'll have to fight for every inch of it." "Then you have chosen extinction," Dax declared. "Coalition forces, begin the assault." As the transmission ended, Walker turned to his officers. A slight smile crossed his face. "Send the coded signal. Operation Hornet's Nest is a go." While coalition forces prepared their methodical attack patterns, human submarines had quietly surrounded their ships. Fighter jets sat ready in underground bunkers. Special forces teams had mapped out every possible urban combat scenario. The aliens were about to learn their first lesson about humanity. Never underestimate those who have spent their entire history learning to fight against the odds. The first shots of the human coalition war were about to be fired, and despite their technological disadvantage, Walker knew one thing. Humans would make these aliens regret ever thinking Earth would be an easy conquest. The war for Earth's freedom was about to begin. The coalition ships fired their first shots at dawn. Bright purple beams sliced through the air, targeting military bases across Earth. Supreme Commander Dax watched from his command ship, expecting to see panic and chaos. Instead, he witnessed something unprecedented. The humans were ready. Major Tom Richards crouched in his hidden bunker deep in the Australian outback. His team of 30 soldiers stayed perfectly still as the alien patrol passed overhead. The coalition forces had taken the bait, attacking empty bases while the real human forces waited in carefully concealed positions. "Remember," Tom whispered to his team, "they're looking up, not down. They expect us to fight like them, out in the open." The alien patrol ship hovered just 50 feet above them. Its sensors were designed to detect energy weapons and large metal concentrations. They weren't looking for simple things like tripwires or pitfalls. They had no concept of such primitive warfare tactics. That was their first mistake. Tom pressed the detonator. Hundreds of small explosives, buried in the red desert sand, went off at once. The alien ship, caught in the middle of the blast pattern, lost its levitation system and crashed. Before the dust settled, Tom's team was moving. "Go, go, go," he ordered. The aliens emerged from their downed ship, expecting to face primitive projectile weapons. Instead, they found an empty battlefield. Confused, they activated their advanced shield systems, forming a defensive circle around their ship. Their second mistake was looking forward, not up. Australian Special Forces dropped from the cliffs above, using simple rope lines. The alien shields, designed to stop energy weapons and bullets, did nothing against the momentum of falling soldiers armed with titanium combat knives. Within minutes, the alien patrol was neutralized. Tom's team quickly began stripping the ship of its technology. "Command, this is Outback Actual," Tom reported. "First package secured. Moving to Phase 2. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In the Siberian forests, Russian forces used the dense woods to ambush alien ground troops. In the Amazon, Brazilian special forces turned the jungle itself into a weapon. The American Marines used underground tunnel networks to appear and disappear at will, striking from unexpected angles. Back on his command ship, Dax received increasingly confused reports. "Supreme Commander," his second-in-command reported, "our forces are facing unusual resistance." "Explain," Dax demanded. "The humans, they're not fighting like any species we've encountered. They're using the environment against us. They're attacking in ways our combat simulations never predicted." A large screen showed coalition forces facing ambush after ambush. In Afghanistan, local fighters were using ancient mountain paths to outmaneuver the technologically superior aliens. In Canada, soldiers on snowmobiles were running circles around alien hover tanks, leading them onto frozen lakes that couldn't support their weight. "Impossible," Dax muttered. "They're primitives. How are they doing this?" The answer came from an unexpected source. A junior science officer spoke up, his voice trembling. "Sir, I've been studying their history. These humans, they've spent their entire existence fighting, not just against others, but against their own planet. Every environment we're struggling with, they've spent thousands of years learning to fight in them." Tom's team demonstrated this truth perfectly. They had loaded the captured alien weapons onto ordinary dirt bikes and four-wheelers. While the coalition forces searched for high-tech signatures, the humans struck using simple machines, hitting hard and disappearing into the landscape. "Sir," Tom's second-in-command pointed at the sky, "they're sending reinforcements." Tom smiled as he watched more alien ships descend. "Good. More gifts for us to collect." By the end of the first day, the coalition had lost over 30 ships and hundreds of troops. Their advanced sensors were useless against human guerrilla tactics. Their shield technology meant nothing against simple gravity and leverage. Their complex battle formations fell apart in the face of unpredictable, adaptive human warfare. In his command center, Commander Walker received the global battle reports with grim satisfaction. "Send word to all units," he ordered. "Operation Hornet's Nest is a success. Begin Phase 2. The aliens had arrived expecting to find primitive warriors. Instead, they had stumbled into humanity's killing grounds, where every mountain, desert, and forest had been transformed into a weapon by the deadliest warriors in the universe. And this was only the beginning. In the main research chamber of the Coalition's flagship, Chief Analyst Rax stared at the battle footage with growing concern. His team of alien scientists had spent 3 days analyzing human combat tactics, and what they discovered disturbed them deeply. Supreme Commander Dax. Rax began his presentation, his scaled hands shaking slightly. "We have completed our initial study of human warfare. Our findings are troubling." The massive view screen behind him showed clips from Earth's military history, ancient armies clashing with swords, modern soldiers fighting in cities, special forces training in every environment imaginable. "In our 5,000 years of galactic conquest," Rax continued, "we have never encountered a species like humans. Most races develop one, perhaps 2 forms of combat. The Centauri are space fighters. The Vorax excel at ground assault. But humans—" He paused, clicking a button to show more footage. "Humans have developed thousands of different fighting styles. They call them martial arts. Each is designed for different situations. They have fighting techniques for forests, deserts, cities, mountains, even underwater." Dax watched as the screen showed humans practicing these various combat forms. "Surely their primitive methods cannot match our technology," he said, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. "That's another problem, sir," Rax replied. "Humans don't just fight with weapons. They fight with anything they can find." He played footage from recent battles, a human soldier taking down an alien warrior with a broken tree branch, another using a simple rope to trap and disable a hover tank. "Our troops report that humans are creating weapons from their environment. They're modifying our own technology to use against us. The concept of an improvised weapon simply doesn't exist in any other species we've encountered." The room fell silent as Rax played more battle footage. A group of human children had managed to disable an alien sensor array using just rocks and slingshots. A farmer had turned his tractor into a makeshift tank. But the most terrifying aspect, Rax continued, is their resilience. Most species surrender when wounded. Humans. He showed medical reports. Humans continue fighting even with severe injuries. Our psychological experts can't explain it. They simply refuse to give up. One report detailed a human soldier who, despite losing an arm, had managed to disable 3 alien warriors before receiving medical attention. Another showed a wounded human female protecting her unit by fighting hand-to-hand against an alien twice her size. "There's more," Rax said quietly. "We've discovered that humans purposely train in what they call worst-case scenarios. They practice fighting while injured, fighting without weapons, fighting in darkness. They have military units specialized for every possible situation." The screen showed human special forces training, underwater combat, Arctic warfare, desert survival, urban fighting, jungle operations. Each specialist unit was equally deadly in their chosen environment. "Our soldiers are starting to fear them," Rax admitted. "Reports from the front lines speak of humans appearing from nowhere, striking in ways we can't predict, then vanishing. Some units refuse to patrol at night because humans have learned to use our own sensor systems against us." Dax stood up, his massive frame casting a shadow over the room. "Are you suggesting we cannot defeat them?" "Sir," Rax replied carefully, "I'm suggesting that every day we fight them, they learn more about us. They adapt. They improvise. Our technology advantage is shrinking because they're studying everything we use against them." And he hesitated. "Speak freely," Dax ordered. "They seem to enjoy it, sir. Every defeat makes them fight harder. Every setback teaches them something new. They call it experience. No other species treats warfare as a learning opportunity." The room erupted in concerned murmurs. Dax silenced them with a gesture. "One final thing," Rax added. "We've intercepted their communications. They're already sharing their combat knowledge with other worlds we've conquered. They're teaching our other subjects how to fight like humans." For the first time in his long military career, Supreme Commander Dax felt something he'd never experienced before: fear of an enemy. The humans weren't just surviving. They were turning the entire galaxy into their classroom of war. Lieutenant Anna Miller crawled through the narrow maintenance duct of the alien warship, her heart beating steadily despite the danger. Behind her, 4 members of her special operations team followed silently. This was Operation Ghost, humanity's boldest move yet in the war. "They really should have made these ducts smaller," she whispered into her radio, a slight smile on her face. The aliens, being much larger than humans, had designed their ships with maintenance tunnels that were perfectly sized for human infiltrators. The team had entered the massive Coalition warship by clinging to the hull of a supply vessel. While the aliens searched for high-tech intrusion methods, they never thought to look for humans simply climbing aboard. 5 minutes to target, Anna's second-in-command, Mike, whispered. Through tiny gaps in the ducts, they could see alien crew members moving below. The Coalition soldiers were becoming increasingly jumpy. Stories had spread through their ranks about humans appearing out of nowhere, striking impossible blows, and vanishing like ghosts. Today, those stories would become even scarier. "Remember," Anna said quietly, "we're not just here to disable the ship. We're here to make them fear the dark." Each member of her team carried both real and fake spider-like robots. The real ones would disable the ship's systems. The fake ones would do something far more damaging. They would destroy the aliens' confidence. In position, Anna reported as they reached the main power distribution hub. Below them, alien technicians worked at their stations, completely unaware of the humans watching from above. "Execute," came the command from Earth Control. Anna's team dropped the first wave of spider bots through small holes in the duct. The robots scuttled into shadows, planting small explosive charges at key points. Then came the second wave, the psychological warfare units. The first alien noticed something was wrong when the lights began to flicker. Then came the sounds, small mechanical clicks echoing through the ship's corridors. Finally, the fake spiders emerged, their small red eyes glowing in the darkness. Panic erupted. The aliens had never seen anything like these tiny machines. Their weapons, designed to fight full-sized enemies, were almost useless against such small targets. Every time they shot at one spider, 3 more seemed to appear from the walls. "Second phase," Anna ordered. Her team split up, each taking different routes through the ship's duct system. As the aliens focused on the spider bots below, the humans emerged from hidden points, placing small devices on critical systems. The ship's captain was shouting orders, trying to maintain control. "They're just machines. Stand and fight." That's when Anna put her next plan into action. The lights went out completely. In the darkness, her team activated their night vision and began moving through the ship's corridors. To the aliens, it seemed like shadows were attacking them. The alien crew, already scared of the spider bots, now faced an even worse nightmare: invisible enemies that struck without warning. The humans, trained in close-quarter combat, used their smaller size to full advantage. "Engineering secured," Mike reported. "Bridge access confirmed," came another report. Within 20 minutes, the massive Coalition warship had effectively been captured by just 5 humans. The alien crew, finding themselves locked out of their own systems, had retreated to emergency shelters. Anna stood on the ship's bridge, looking at the stunned face of the captured alien captain. "Your ship is now under human control," she announced. "Would you like to surrender, Or should we release more spiders? The captain looked at the small human female in disbelief. His mighty warship, defeated by creatures he could have crushed with one hand. If only he could catch them. "We surrender," he said quietly. As Anna's team secured the bridge, reports came in from across the sector. 5 other coalition ships had fallen to similar tactics. Human special forces had turned the aliens' own ships into their hunting grounds. Back on Earth, Commander Walker received the news with satisfaction. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "Operation Ghost is a success. The aliens' biggest ships are now their biggest weakness." In the following days, a new saying spread through coalition forces. "Beware the humans. They're always watching, always waiting, and they can fit anywhere." The ghost stories had only begun. The Coalition Recruitment Center on Planet Car was unusually quiet. Officer Krell stared at his empty desk in disbelief. For the first time in 300 years, not a single soldier had volunteered for combat duty. "Sir," his assistant entered with a data pad, "we have another problem. 3 more battalions are requesting immediate transfer. They're refusing deployment to Earth." Across the galaxy, the same scene repeated on every coalition world. The mighty alien army that had conquered 500 planets was facing something entirely new. Fear. Captain Robert Stone stood on the bridge of the captured coalition warship Thunder, now renamed Humanity's Hope. His crew, a mix of humans and liberated alien species, worked together with practiced efficiency. "Report from the Centauri system," his communications officer announced. "The coalition garrison has surrendered without a fight. They heard we were coming." Robert allowed himself a small smile. The stories of human warfare had spread faster than their actual forces. Coalition troops were surrendering at the mere mention of Earth forces approaching. "Play the latest intercept," he ordered. The ship's speakers crackled with a captured coalition transmission. "They're everywhere. They use our own ships against us. They turn our technology into weapons. The humans, they don't fight like warriors. They fight like death itself." Another voice cut in. "My unit was stationed on Earth for 3 days. Just 3 days. They struck from underground, from the sea, from the sky. We never saw them coming. I'm not going back. I'd rather face execution." Robert turned to his alien second-in-command, a freed Centauri named Vix. "How are the training sessions going?" Vix straightened proudly. "The liberated species are learning fast, Captain. Humans are teaching us things we never imagined. Did you know we can use our tail spikes for climbing? No Centauri ever thought of that before." On the main screen, reports streamed in from across coalition space. More and more subjugated worlds were rising up, using human tactics. Species that had been conquered for centuries were discovering their own hidden strengths. "New message from Earth Command," the communications officer reported. "Operation Liberation is expanding. We're to proceed to the Nexus sector." Robert nodded. The Nexus sector was home to some of the oldest coalition colonies. Its liberation would strike at the heart of their empire. "Sir," Vix interrupted, "coalition propaganda broadcast intercepted. You'll want to see this." The screen showed Supreme Commander Dax trying to rally his forces. "Do not believe the stories. Humans are primitive beings. Their victories are mere flukes." There. The broadcast was interrupted by a hacked signal. Suddenly, every coalition screen showed footage of human special forces capturing ships, teaching other species to fight, and turning coalition technology against itself. "That's not propaganda," Robert said to his crew. "That's just Monday." The effect was immediate. 3 more coalition fleets surrendered that day. The alien soldiers had seen too much. They'd watched humans adapt to space warfare in weeks, master alien technology in days, and teach their skills to others in hours. In the ship's training room, human instructors were teaching former coalition slaves how to fight. A tiny alien female learned how to use her small size as an advantage. A massive warrior discovered he could use his strength more efficiently. Each species was finding its own way to fight. Message from Coalition High Command. The communications officer reported with a grin. They're begging us to stop spreading our combat teachings. They say we're destabilizing the galactic order. Robert laughed. Send them our standard response. The response was simple. Footage of humans and liberated aliens training together, with a single line of text. The galaxy is changing. Adapt or surrender. As humanity's hope jumped to its next target, Robert reflected on how far they'd come. Humans hadn't just resisted conquest. They'd changed the very nature of warfare in the galaxy. They'd shown countless species that size, technology, and traditional military doctrine meant nothing compared to adaptability, creativity, and determination. The Coalition's worst nightmare had come true. They hadn't just failed to conquer humanity. They'd turned humans into teachers, spreading their combat knowledge across the stars. And the lessons were just beginning. Supreme Commander Dax stood before the Coalition High Council, his once proud posture now showing signs of defeat. The massive chamber, filled with representatives from the ruling species, buzzed with nervous energy. The situation is beyond control, Dax admitted, his voice echoing in the quiet room. We've lost 40% of our fleet. 30 colonies have declared independence. And the humans... He paused, his four eyes blinking rapidly. The humans are advancing toward our core systems. On the giant screens around the chamber, live footage showed the latest disaster. The Coalition fortress world, defended by 300 ships, had fallen in just 6 hours. The human-led alliance hadn't fired a single shot. The defenders had simply surrendered. Impossible, shouted one council member. How can primitives cause this much damage? The answer came from an unexpected source. A young Coalition tactical officer stepped forward, his hand shaking as he addressed the council. I served on the front lines, he said. Let me show you why we're losing. The screens changed to show a series of battles. In each one, human forces used different tactics. They turned asteroid fields into ambush zones. They transformed space stations into fortresses. They taught former slaves how to use their natural abilities in ways the Coalition had never imagined. The humans, the officer continued, they don't just fight. They innovate. They teach. Every defeat makes them stronger. Every victory gives them new weapons. New reports flashed across the screens. Coalition soldiers were deserting in massive numbers. Many were joining the human-led alliance. The mighty empire that had stood for thousands of years was crumbling from within. Commander Walker's voice broadcasted across all Coalition frequencies. Attention Coalition forces, we are approaching your capital sector. You have a choice. Surrender and join the new Galactic Alliance, or continue fighting a war you cannot win. In a secure bunker deep beneath the capital city, Dax received the latest intelligence. The humans had somehow modified their captured ships to be even more effective than the originals. They'd improved Coalition weapons, enhanced their defenses, and most importantly, made them usable by beings of all sizes. Sir, his aide reported, the 7th Fleet is refusing orders to engage. They say, he hesitated, they say humans are not meant to be fought. What do they mean by that? Dax demanded. The soldiers are sharing stories. They say humans don't die properly. When you kill one, 10 more appear seeking revenge. When you wound one, it fights harder. When you corner them, the aide shuddered. They become most dangerous when cornered. The chamber erupted in chaos as more reports arrived. Human-led ships had been spotted in the outer defense ring. But instead of attacking, they were broadcasting training sessions, showing Coalition soldiers a better way to live. A massive explosion rocked the building. On the security feeds, Dax watched in horror as human special forces emerged from maintenance ducts, ventilation systems, and even waste disposal units. They were inside the most secure facility in Coalition space, and they were everywhere. How? Dax whispered. How did they get in? The answer came from his own security chief. Sir, we never thought to guard the small spaces. No warrior race would use them. No honorable soldier would crawl through waste. Humans don't care about warrior traditions, another officer added. They care about winning. The screen showed more coalition units surrendering. The human-led alliance wasn't just defeating them, it was absorbing them, teaching them, making them stronger. Commander Walker's voice broadcasted again. Your empire is built on fear and dominance. Ours is built on adaptation and cooperation. Choose your future wisely. In the council chamber, one by one, the representatives began to stand. The vote was clear. The war had to end. Dax looked out at his crumbling empire and finally understood. The coalition had spent thousands of years becoming the perfect fighting force, bound by tradition and protocol. Then they had met humans, creatures who turned air ducts into invasion routes and trash chutes into tactical advantages. The coalition hadn't just lost a war. They had lost their way of thinking about warfare itself. And the humans were just getting started. 1 year after the coalition's surrender, the Grand Hall of the new Galactic Alliance headquarters buzzed with activity. Beings of all sizes and species worked together, from tiny maintenance workers to massive security guards. At the center of it all stood Commander Walker, now Admiral of the Alliance Fleet. The ceremony today would mark the official transformation of the old coalition into something new. Former Supreme Commander Dax, now a regular citizen, approached the podium to address the gathered representatives. A year ago, Dax began, his voice humble. I believed humans were primitive beings who needed to be conquered. Today, I stand before you to admit how wrong I was. The massive screen behind him showed scenes from the past year. Humans teaching combat techniques to former slave species. Earth's military academies filled with alien students. Former coalition warriors learning new ways to use their abilities. Humanity's greatest weapon was never their ability to fight, Dax continued. It was their ability to teach, to adapt, and to bring out the best in others. In the training yards outside, Lieutenant Anna Miller watched as a group of small alien species practiced infiltration techniques. Nearby, massive warrior races learned precision and control instead of just brute force. Every being was discovering their unique strengths. The first human rule of combat, Anna called out to her students, is that there are no rules. Use whatever works. But she smiled. Always fight for the right reasons. Back in the Grand Hall, Captain Robert Stone presented the latest fleet statistics. The new Alliance ships combined the best of coalition technology with human innovation. More importantly, they were designed to be crewed by multiple species working together. Our ships are faster, more efficient, and more adaptable than ever, Robert reported. But our real strength is our crews. Every species brings unique abilities and perspectives. Commander Walker took the podium next. 1 year ago, we fought for Earth's freedom. Today, we stand together as equals, teaching each other, learning from each other, growing stronger together. The screen showed new images, peaceful colonies where multiple species lived together, schools where humans and aliens studied side by side, and defense forces that combined the strengths of all races. Major Tom Richards, now head of the Alliance Special Forces Training Program, led a demonstration for the assembled delegates. His team, made up of 6 different species, showed how they combined their natural abilities. Small, agile beings worked alongside powerful warriors, each complementing the other's strengths. The old coalition taught us to fear humans, one of Tom's alien students said. Now we understand why. They showed us that true strength comes from adaptation, innovation, and cooperation. In orbit above, the Alliance's new flagship, Unity, prepared for its maiden voyage. Its crew represented 20 different species, each chosen for their unique abilities. The ship itself was a marvel of combined technology, incorporating ideas from all member worlds. We've created something unprecedented, Walker continued his speech. Not an empire built on fear, but an alliance built on mutual respect and continuous learning. Dax stood again, this time alongside Walker. The coalition spent thousands of years conquering others. Humans spent just 1 year teaching us a better way. They showed us that the strongest warriors are not those who dominate others, but those who help others become strong. The ceremony concluded with a new tradition. Representatives from each world stepped forward to share what they had learned from working with humans. Some spoke of creativity in combat, others of adaptability in peace, but all agreed on one thing: humanity had changed the galaxy forever. As the celebrations continued, Walker looked out at the gathered species, former enemies now allies, former slaves now equals. "Remember," he said softly, "we are still the deadliest warriors in the universe, but now we fight to protect, to teach, and to unite." In the years that followed, the story spread across the stars, how a primitive species had defeated the mightiest empire ever known, not just through force of arms, but through the power of innovation, adaptation, and cooperation. The humans were still feared, but now they were also respected, admired, and most importantly, they were teachers to all. The galaxy had learned its lesson: never underestimate humanity's ability to change the rules of the game.